Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone in between, I am OverHugs, and I'd like to welcome you back to Building Bread Snapshot Edition. Today we're going to be checking out the latest 1.17 Snapshot, which has a couple of new features in it. And the first one is powdered snow, which is why we're here in a snowy biome. So let's check it out. So powdered snow is a little different from regular snow, which as you can see here is just a normal block. You make it, it looks nice, you can build it up with layers of snow, but it's just a normal style block. Powdered snow comes in a bucket, and when you place it down, you can place it and build it as these blocks, but it has this unique ability where if you have a regular block and you go into it, you will drift down into it. It is a trapped block. And the longer you stay in here, you will begin to take freezing damage. We won't take any damage because we're in creative right now, but if we change our game mode over to survival, you will rapidly see that we will start to freeze on the outside of our screen, and eventually, as the ice comes far enough, we'll start taking freezing damage. And this damage is not tremendous, it's a little bit, but yep, so now you've seen that down at the bottom, our hearts have turned to blue, and we're starting to take this freezing damage, and we have to get out of the snow in order to clear it, where it will eventually stop. So what does this mean? What is this worthwhile for? Well, for those of you who enjoy pranks, you will notice that the snow itself doesn't look very much different, and you probably won't be able to notice it if you're walking around in a tundra like this. So you very quickly could have something where you would just fall right through. Let me change back into creative mode to show that a little bit more, where we'll yoink up the actual powdered snow bucket and create a whole bunch. So what we could have is a variety of snow blocks that are bracketing in where you're going, where you're walking. And then when you actually get to the powdered snow, if we're walking down, you could just be walking along and then all of a sudden you're falling down through. Also, what this does is this gives a really nice ability other than honey blocks in order to change your falling damage. So one of the problems that we have right now is fall damage is pretty constant. Like you go and you fall and that's it. Or if you slide down a honey block, you will go slower. But here you have a pretty continuous amount of fall damage as you're going, and it's a limited speed. This has some possibilities with both farms and other mechanisms that where you could want a player to go down. Like in theory, you could have this as a down elevator, although I still don't understand why you wouldn't just jump and get all the way to the bottom quickly. But some people still use magma blocks at the bottom of bubble vaders, so to each their own. I don't want to judge. So how do you get this? This is going to be rather difficult to farm because the only way to get this new powdered snow is to collect it outside in a cauldron. And it's slow. It definitely is not anything you would consider speedy, but it gives you the ability to go through here and gather in multiple levels. So let's turn the weather to rain, which because we're in a snow biome in the beginning is going to turn it into snow. And because of this, I can set up a whole bunch of these cauldrons, which are not cheap. So I hope you have a good iron farm when you do this in survival in order to get your snow. And you see that this takes quite a while. Like we've gone and there are none that are actually filled up. So I've set out a number of cauldrons here in order to see how long it will take for the snow to accumulate. And much like rain in cauldrons, it will take an amount of time and it is random. And it is not affected by tick rolls. So you can't just change your tick rate and get a tremendous amount of this in a short amount of time, even if your world allows cheats and has creative. It seems like the best way to actually farm this is just by a sheer number of cauldrons. And here we go. We see one where it's starting to accumulate. And this is the lowest amount. It has to completely fill before you can harvest this. Like if we want to go do it with a bucket, nothing is happening right now. So we need to wait in order for it to accumulate to the point of where we can pull one bucket's worth of snow out. And this one too is going, but you see that it's not that much. Like we have quite a few cauldrons here, and even only 2 of them are done. So let's be obnoxious. And let's say I want to fill everything for 100 blocks in every direction with cauldrons. All right, so now we have a lot of cauldrons. I think this should hopefully give us a good idea of when we're going to be able to. And you can see it is random. It's just because now we have so many of them, we're able to get the accumulation of the single layers. But remember, this is still only single layers. That randomness is going to have to accumulate across the same cauldron multiple times in order to get a completely filled cauldron. This is gonna be hard to farm unless somebody is much more clever than I am about how they can update this to maybe do the equivalent of zero ticking before it was removed from the game. But it does work, and it does come in over time. But yeah, we have a lot of cauldrons here, and you can still see it's not that many. So I imagine this is going to be a challenging block to build with. You're going to have to do it through brute force as opposed to cleverness, I think. But I don't think you'll need that much. Like, realistically, I can't imagine that there's going to be a tremendous amount of things that you'll need this for, where you will need a large amount of these blocks. As you can see, like, when we're going through all the way up, if I stop flying, I'll just kind of slowly sink through. So it's nice for controlling your times and maybe controlling how a mob will fall in to get timings or something. I don't know. I can't think of anything. I'm sure other people already have, but I have not seen anything yet. So this is the cauldron and the powdered snow, or the snow or your snow as it used to be called. Another change that is in this snapshot is the ability to stop taking freezing damage by wearing leather armor. So this gives you a reason to wear it from now on, rather than just having it be in the game and really not serve much of a purpose other than decorating up armor stands. So you see we're taking damage, but if we walk out of here and clear it and then put on leather armor as we walk in, we should not take freezing damage anymore. We perhaps will get cold, but the changelog says that you can prevent it with a number of... Nope, it seems like that is a bug. According to the changelog, it says wearing a full set of armor prevents freezing entirely, and each piece of leather armor causes an entity to freeze more slowly. I did not see that. Let's try with one less and see if the freezing damage takes longer to come in. Okay, it does seem like the slowness of it is impacted. Like, the amount of time for the screen to zoom in and get those freezing effects definitely seems longer than what we had before. But we're definitely still taking damage, although we're taking less damage. But this should prevent us from taking damage entirely. And it does not seem to be a difference between the second to last tier and the last tier. So I'm guessing that's a bug. But that's one way that you could prevent. So I don't know, another way that you could trap people by going through here and actually having the ability where you're okay, but they're slowly going to freeze to death if you drop them in a hole. It's a good question. I wonder if you can fly out of this with a elytra. Let's go back to creative and place a number of blocks here to see what happens. All right, so we've given ourselves an elytra and we have fireworks. So let's say we are standing on these blocks and some clever trickster fooled us into walking across the snow where we would slowly do nothing. All right, that's super interesting. I didn't know that, although it is on the changelog. If you're wearing leather boots, you don't sink. So this gives the opportunity again to do substantially more trickery or chicanery with this, where if you don't have the boots on, you will sink, but the second you put them on, you stop sinking and you can climb back out. So this is a reason, again, if you're on a multiplayer server, to actually have leather boots, I guess. Kind of neat. Let's remove the leather boots and test the elytra theory and see if we can fly out once we have it, or if we're just in trouble. Nope. It looks like you cannot. The wings do not engage. So that is something you could do, is drop somebody in a pit and suffocate them. That is something you have to watch out for on a multiplayer server, I guess. A few other things to note is that some of the crafting recipes have changed. Crafting a copper block is now only 4 copper ingots. So they've reduced the amount of resources it takes in order to build these, which is good. I don't know, and I don't think anybody does, how much they're going to be able to get in the world. But if this isn't farmable, you're just going to have to mine it. And that's something similar to coal, where I like the copper a lot. So it would be disheartening to have to go and mine a ton in order to be able to build any amount of blocks and build with it. So that is definitely nice and good that we get to this. Other major things in this snapshot is that the range of lightning rods has been increased, which I suppose is good. It gives you more protection if you're trying to protect an area, as well as the sky color varying smoothly when you go between biomes, which was a little bit jarring in some of the other snapshots and some of the other modes. So I don't really see that much of a difference, but I'll take their word for it, and it's nice that that is being done. So the bundle icon has also changed, and as you go through and you add things to it, you can see how it changes and it increases. You have the little fill icon now, as well as whenever you hover over it, it shows you exactly what is in it, which is great. If I'm going through and adding things, like, you can pretty easily see that this is mostly full and we can see the number of items in it, but it still behaves exactly the same otherwise. Like, we could put a number of cauldrons within it in order to see it, but it only will hold a single stackable item. Only one bucket of powdered snow now makes the bundle completely full. So a little bit of textural changes, which is great. Number of textures have also changed. The candle texture is a little different, which I like this. It looks more 3D and it gives a bit more color to the previous ones. If you want to see what it looked like before, you can refer back to my previous snapshot video. So the textures that have changed are cut copper, the lightning rod, calcite, amethyst block, budded amethyst block, tinted glass, candle item icons, copper ingot item icons, amethyst shard icons, and the bundle, which we already talked about. So a lot of new ones coming in here. I'm not going to bother going back and forth between each one of these. It stands to reason that because this is something that they changed in the second snapshot, they're still considering and not sure where they're going to go with it. So it's entirely possible that all of these textures are not finalized yet. But it is nice to know that they are soliciting feedback, because otherwise, why would you change it if you didn't want to know where it was going? The remainder of the things that happened within this snapshot are largely technical changes, and I'll just link a screenshot showing what each one is now. Most of these, unless you do things specifically like doing commands or changing the items within your world, you probably don't care too much about these. But sometimes it's really nice. Like, for example, we use the fill command in order to generate all of these cauldrons, because placing over 100,000 cauldrons by hand is very, very time consuming, and I'm glad we don't have to do it. So I think with that, we're going to call this a day in our glorious leather armor and the sun going down behind us. So thank you once again for choosing to spend your time on this special snapshot review with me. As a reminder, I donate all the profits that I make off of this to local food banks. So I'd really appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, or tell a friend. Together, we can help people in need. I hope you have the most wonderful of days, and I'll see you in the next 1.17 update.